I am Emille Nabweteme. I am so happy to be here with my guests. And I'm going to ask him a question about people with disabilities who are actors. Why do you think people with disabilities have to be an actor?
Have to be an actor? Well, I think they want to be creative, yeah. And they want to express themselves in the best way they know how. And, show the world that we're not victims of pity. And that we have our own power and we have our own identity. For too long, people with disabilities aren't cast in roles that they should be. And so they're just ignored, yeah. So that, if there's, let's say, a blind character, the industry is so ignorant of, people out there who could be doing that role, that's why able-bodied actors get cast.
Some people with disabilities, I think some of them, they don't want to be actors and actors because of the way they are shy, because of the way they raise them.
Right.
That's why they don't want to come in the public.
Right.
But not everyone is like that.
No.
Yeah. Some people come out to be with other people so that they can be actors and actors.
Right. I mean, it's hard to make that kind of a step if you really don't, if you aren't really aware of how to make the step and you don't get the support and advocacy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but sometimes, if you know, okay, let me just give you an example,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I don't have a support, right?
Right.
I have to come out like the way I am.
Right.
Start supporting my own self.
Right.
I don't have to sit down
Right.
and then waiting for somebody to push me to go do this and that.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes we people with disabilities, we have to push our own selves.
Right. I think you need support, and you need other people, advocating for you. You do the advocating, and people to help advocating for you. And I guess, we just lost an actor, Emily, the great actor Kirk Douglas, who passed away at 103, believe it or not. And Mr. Douglas, wow, he's had a career. He had an incredible career. People may know he was in The Bad and the Beautiful, Lust for Life, where he played the disabled artist Vincent van Gogh. And this role, I suppose, one of his most famous roles is Spartacus, about the man who led the rebellion during the Roman Empire. This may be his most famous role.
Wow.
Mr. Douglas, what's interesting about Spartacus was that the man who wrote the screenplay, a writer named Dalton Trumbo, and I have a picture here. Hopefully we can.
That's so good.
And the very famous Dalton Trumbo, and he was a writer who was blacklisted. He could not get work, and what he would do, he would write a script, and they would use another person's name. But what happened was that Kirk Douglas so valiantly, they were going to make the movie version of Spartacus, which he was going to star in. And he said, I want to hire Dalton Trumbo. I know he's blacklisted. I know he can't get work, but I'm just going to have the guts to hire him and put his name on the screen. So that was one of the most courageous things he did, to hire a blacklisted actor, during the McCarthy era, when, people, because of their political beliefs, could not get work. And, one of the most famous people, maybe we can talk about on a show, is the great actor, singer Paul Robeson, who had no respect for this country and literally basically left the country because of how ugly the blacklist got. And then I think from the disability angle is that Mr. Douglas and, of course, his son, Michael Douglas, in the late 60s, helped form a thing called the Axis Theater in Berkeley. Of course, Berkeley, the Center for Independent Living, which really gave, actors a real chance to be on stage. Now, what happened was that I was living in Iowa City, Iowa, and I didn't know what to do with my theater degree. And so what happened was that I heard about a production called Through Our Eyes, which was made up of about 50 people with disabilities, telling stories, singing songs, and I ended up working on. And that's really what got me back into theater, doing theater, acting theater, and being an advocate for people with disabilities. We can do our own theater. We don't need other people, yeah.
Yeah, oh, okay. You said that we can do our own theater. What do you mean, like?
Right.
We people with disabilities, we can do our own theaters, or we have to do our own theater with other people?
We can do our own theater, yeah.
Why do you want it to be that way?
Well, I think we've been told we can't do anything for so long. And so we're made to feel like figures of pity. So it's really society. Society puts restraints on us. The way Spartacus was a
So
slave.
do you think it's gonna look bad if we work together?
Yeah, I think it's very important for the disability community to work together.
Okay, for me, the reason why I'm saying that we should work with other people, because those people, they can help us.
Right,
But if we do it with ourselves,
Right.
we're gonna fail. We don't know 100%.
right,
So that's why we need other people to help us.
right. I mean,
For example, to hold cameras, something like
right.
that.
Yeah, we can do it ourselves. I mean, obviously there's some things people with disabilities can't, if it's hard for them to do, yeah, we can work together, yeah. And that's what's been good about this show for almost 20 years is that, we have, people, working together to produce this show. Thank you. Do you like acting?
Acting, yeah.
Great.
I love acting.
Have you done acting?
Yeah, actually at Wright College,
Oh,
I
okay.
am actress.
Oh, great.
Yeah, every Tuesday
Oh, great.
we have a play.
Oh, great, good, okay. Well, maybe sometimes you can come on and do some acting.
Yeah, I want to be. Actually, I started last year.
Oh, great,
Last year, that was March. I started last year, March.
great. Okay, well,
So I want to be an actress.
good. Well, we'll work on it. Great.
Yeah, I want to be an actress. That's why I went to Wright College to sign up last year.
Good.
So
Okay.
that was gonna be a year.
Good.
Yeah,
Well,
next
good
month.
luck. Yeah. Remember.
How about you?
How about me?
Do you want to be actor?
Well, I mean, I have been acting my whole life. Yep. For
Oh,
about
you were
50 years.
actor?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Where?
Well, I've acted in Iowa City. I've acted here in Chicago. I worked with Techie Lemnicki and her theater company. Yep.
Oh, that's nice.
So
I'm so happy for you.
thank you, and I'm happy for you too.
So is there something you want to say about acting?
Well, I think in the disability community, there's the line, nothing without us. So, hey, we're here and we want to act and we want to create.
And then I have something to say is, how about blind people? They have to be actors and actors too.
Sure, they can be, yep. Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
yeah,
they can give them is a job.
right, mm-hmm.
We don't have to leave them outside.
Right, no, can invite them in,
You
yeah.
have to be like,
Right, and, yep,
come by circle.
right. And, my dear friend Kenny Borst is a person who's blind, and he's our technical director. He's been doing it for I think 20 years. And what happened was he, joined our crew, and what happened, he got so good that he is a member of CAN TV. He's an employee of CAN TV.
That's nice.
And which is something, the Department of Rehab Services would, never think about a job like this. Yep.
I'm so happy for everyone.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's work hard and let's do some good work.
Yes, yes, everyone has to work hard. Everyone has to be like other people who have inspired us.
Right.
For example, a person who has inspired me is Beyonce.
Good.
Beyonce is my favorite actor and a singer.
That's good. Great.
Plus Michael B. Jordan.
So yeah.
Yeah,
great.
those are my favorite.
Yeah, I've heard he's quite good. Yep. Yeah.
But and other people who are outside too are not yet actresses and actors. They have to come to be part of us.
Well, we've got to work together. Yep.
Yeah. So if they don't like, if they like,
Right.
at least we have tried to tell them.
Right.
That's really nice. I'm so happy that people with disabilities, they are actresses and actors, and they started
Right.
movies.
And I think again, it is because of people like Kirk Douglas, the famous actor, who really helped, move the movement for people with disabilities along. Yep.
I think that's the end of the questions.
Right.
Thank you for coming
Thank
to
you,
the
Emily.
show.
We look forward
and
to
I'll
working
see you again
together.
next week.
Will do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Coates, and I am with Rob Rotman on Adapt Productions. And today we're going to be talking about Martin Luther King.
Thank you, Jasmine. Well, I don't think people realize, of all the incredible things he did, I think one of the greatest things he did was involve my action figure that I have with me. Nichelle Nichols played Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. This was in the mid-'60s. She was thinking about leaving the show. Well, interestingly enough, Dr. King said this to her. He told me, "You must stay. You have opened a door that never can be closed again. Do it not only for black children, black adults, and for all women, but for the non-ethnic people who are seeing us as we're supposed to be." And I have a picture, this is from Star Trek II, which is generally considered the best movie in the whole Star Trek series. This is Nichelle Nichols, her name, and I think about the show and how it really challenged the stereotype that black women just didn't have to be mammies, slaves, servants. So I mean, this is truly, I think, one of the greatest things that he did. People, in the '60s, we started seeing people like Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, and we're entertainers. That's the important thing. And I think especially with Star Trek II, I'm playing a character. But, the important thing was I'm in a position of power. And I think about, people my age, in their mid-60s, I think about a young Whoopi Goldberg, a young Oprah Winfrey, a young Condoleezza Rice, watching that show, and wow, we can be more than domestics. What are your feelings about what I'm saying?
I think you're right.
Right, and do you have any favorite actresses or?
I've seen Star Trek before,
Yeah.
but I don't have a favorite
Sure.
actor.
But, and, just think about, the door that this woman opened, can never be closed again. And I had a little theater company at Iowa called the Mainliners. Okay, this is a picture of my theater company, the Mainliners. This is a man named Jeffrey Town who loved Mr. Spock, so he did a skit called Star Trek: The Laugh of Khan. And I had my little Spock action figure, and we were playing characters. And I think that is what the greatest thing that this young woman did. And, almost 50 years later, or I guess I can say 60 years later, Star Trek is still on. And look at the doors it keeps opening. And, if you can do it, please, can you do this with your fingers? And as we begin the new year, as Leonard Nimoy would say, live long and prosper. Jasmine, live long and prosper. We shall overcome. Thank you.